Hello everyone, welcome to Recommendary Podcast. Today we have an exciting podcast up ahead for you. We have Pratik with me. Hi Pratik.
Hi Gautam, thanks for the invite.
So Pratik is here to share his thoughts about a book that he has read, a fantastic book by the name Almanac of Naval Ravikant. So this is a book that I wanted to discuss for a long time, and Pratik has something to share, and I want to, and even once we start talking about the book, I thought it was very interesting, and it needs to go into a podcast. So here we are recording a podcast, trying to share our thoughts with you, all of you. And Pratik, what are your initial impressions of the book?
I think to start with, if I have to summarize this book in one word, it's phenomenal. This is one of the best books that I've read in 2023. It's one of those books which has a really lasting impression on you. Even today, when I have to go back to a particular problem in my life, in my career, I refer to this book.
And for people out there who's listening to the podcast, what are the kind of people who should read this book?
I think this book is relevant for a lot of groups of people, but I think if I had to recommend this book to somebody, I think I would recommend it to people who are looking for a clarity of thought in terms of the way they are approaching life. If you look at Naval's journey, he himself has lived a lot of lives. He was a latchkey kid who grew up as an immigrant, grew up fairly poor, born and brought up outside India by a single mother. So and after that, a very successful tech entrepreneur, then an angel investor today. And finally, I think like the overall cycle of life, I think he's fairly spiritual. He has thoughts on happiness and how do you go about life. So I think going back to your earlier question, you very aptly asked, Gautam, who is this for? I think the right person who I would give this book out to would be somebody who is just starting out. Somebody who wants to understand from a big brother, or for that matter, somebody more experienced and who has seen the curve of life.
It's almost like a mentor talking to you through this book, right?
For sure.
Yeah. So one important point that this book touches upon is to create wealth. And at our stage of lives, I'm 32 and you're closing in on 30. We want to look into this topic more scientifically. We always try to find out what is that gives a maximum return of investment to our efforts. What has been your understanding about Naval's thoughts on wealth creation?
I think the first thing, the way Naval summarizes wealth is a function of what kind of specific leverage that you have over society and something that you do at scale. And that in itself has an application for each and everything that you do. In terms of the job that you do, how do you scale your role? How do you sort of do something which you are not doing tomorrow? When you look at your investing, how do you sort of expand it in a format which is slightly more global in nature? But altogether, Naval's philosophy on wealth stems from his experiments that he has done in his life. I think the way he went about building his wealth. And yes, the beauty of this book is in the fact that he's not recommending one approach with respect to wealth creation. It's not like that finance is the way, or for that matter, technology is the way. A lot of people, when they have written literature around wealth creation, it's about the fact that they have gone really deep in one specific field and they hail that specific field as the holy grail with respect to wealth creation.
Yeah.
Unlike that, Naval speaks about generics. Naval speaks about he bases his principles on a very core principle of a uniqueness of each and every individual. And then he talks about principles which works. For example, he speaks about two of the biggest leverages which exist in the market today. The first one being technology and the second one being media. And these two leverages can help you exponentially expand any skill that you have to for you to be able to reach out to a wider audience, for you to be able to monetize it, and so on and so forth. So I think that in itself is fairly profound for me.
Okay. And I think what you're saying is absolutely true. Regarding wealth creation, couple of points that really got me hooked is his statement around owning owning wealth as equity, through equity. So I think that's very important in our lives. As we grow, equity becomes is more of a compounding nature, right? As we hold shares or stocks in companies, and it compounds over a period of time, just like everything else. And that adds real value to our wealth. And that is one point that I was able to take away from his words on wealth. The other point I really liked is on what can add value is when you create something the society wants, and it is yet to be, and society doesn't know how to make it. So if you have that kind of skill set, then you can make something that society really wants, a problem that you need to solve for the society, but it is not solved yet. I think you are on the journey of creating wealth for yourself, right? So and he also touches upon learning a lot.
Yeah.
What has been your takeaways on his thoughts on learning?
I think Naval values learning a lot. I think if I remember correctly and take it with a pinch of salt, I think he grew up in an environment where his post-school library was his home for a number of years, right? I think as somebody who didn't read a lot in his early in the early years of my life, and picked up reading at a later stage of my career, I relate to it very strongly. I think a lot of people look at learning in a very unidirectional way, that it is a means to an end in terms of looking at a particular examination, or for that matter, competing against a particular, finishing a particular course, getting that raise. I think Nabal's definition of learning is slightly different. He looks at overall society as an individual organization, and he talks about your ability to learn and navigate different walks of life. And this is to the early point that we were talking about, Gautam. His theory or his philosophies with respect to life are not restricted to one quadrant of life. It's not about finance, it's not about IT, it's not about technology, it's not about any other field which exists. So it's a very time tested kind of formula, if I have to use that word.
Yeah. No, absolutely. I think we do this in our work lives. We both are HR managers, and being an HR manager, one of the core things that we focus on to cultivate a habit of continuous learning for our stakeholders, and I think that's what he's telling as well. To be constantly learning, no matter what that is. If something that something catches your curiosity, holds your attention, keep learning at it, and he gives two kind of goalposts for learning. One is learn to sell and learn to build. And I think you're somebody who has done it in your life also. On your journey to being a tech HRBP, you have learned the basics of the tech aspects, the fundamental aspect of technology. You have something that you've learned. You intentionally learned, and you develop those skills, right? I think that somewhere you can hold that connection also.
No, for sure. I think one of the things which worked out when for me, when I was trying to learn something at a very rapid pace, was Naval speaks about desire, right? And like Buddha said, desire is the cause of all the suffering that you have in your life.
He keeps quoting Buddha.
He keeps quoting Buddha, and he keeps quoting two people. He keeps quoting Buddha. He keeps quoting somebody named as Krishnamurti, right? He has
Krishnamurti.
I think Jiddu Krishnamurti. So I think learning with a strong desire to reach an end goal has not worked for me. Okay. It works for a lot of people. I think learning for the sake of learning and enjoying that particular process is something which really works out for me. But that comes at the cost of sort of having that time in your hand and being able to do what you want. But I think I'll connect learning to the other principle that he talks about. So he talks about there are three most important things in your life: who you work with, what you do, and where you do it. And if you think about it, Gautam, that's so profound. If I have to talk about all three of it, I think my peer circle is gonna define the level of maturity, level of conversations I have in my life. My job or what I do on a daily basis is gonna form my behaviors, my habits with respect to who I become in a relatively longer period of time. And I think where I do it, I think it's just beautiful. I think we all have heard about bad neighborhood, good neighborhood. In good neighborhood, people are supportive. They're not pulling each other down. They're trying to sort of create an ecosystem where everybody thrives, right? That's the difference between a crab mentality versus a non-crab mentality. So I think if I connect his learning with these three principles, so you figure out what do you want to learn, where do you want to learn, and what who do you want to learn with.
Yeah.
And that is true for our institutions as well. So earlier we used to have the meccas of learning like IITs, NITs. Today you have something like Masters Union, right, which is a drastically different concept in comparison to learning, but it's working for them. They are able to sort of pick up skills, and if you connect it to largely what's happening in the ecosystem as well, we are moving to a skill-based economy, right? You have seen this change as a HR business partner, as a consultant in the past. I am seeing that particular change. In fact, how do you reflect at it?
So, in my case, when I read about learning, two things came in my mind.
Yeah.
Because I have newsletter going on, because I have blogs going on, and other Instagram pages going on, I connected with the fact that he tells us to learn to sell. And although I'm not selling in that sense where I'm getting money or anything, but I'm selling ideas. I'm selling my thoughts. I'm helping my thoughts to reach to a certain audience. So I really connected with that I always, whenever I'm reading something, my intention is always to consume that, reflect that, and mix it with my own experiences and share it with the last set of people. Whether it can earn money in the future or not is a different question, but at least I'm intentionally doing that whenever I get a chance. Second, I'm applying learning, the whole advice on learning by learning through people. So when I'm meeting a new person, I'm genuinely taking curiosity about what they're doing and how they're doing it, what kind of role they're playing. Just to understand their life and if possible, understand the work they do. I don't know when it's going to be used for me, or maybe it's not even a useful thing for me in the sense that, I'm going to apply it for my role directly or my job directly. But at some point, I believe that, that context will help me to grow, is my belief. And one other thing that really attracted me in the book is his point on mental models, on decision making, particularly. I mean, which is so useful. Often when we approach a problem in our life or a situation in our life, we are tuned to look at it in a very unidimensional way, right? And mental model will help you to break that and then approach in multiple different ways and help you to make sure that the risk attached to the situation or the problem that you're trying to solve is minimized to the
Did you pick up any mental model from the book?
Inversion is something I really like.
Okay. I think I remember of one of the mental models that he speaks about, and I think speaks about the fact that if you have two equally weighing options, pick up the one which is more painful in the short term.
Correct.
Right?
Yeah.
And I think quite honestly, Gautam, I am somebody who has had perpetual fear of decision making, right? In fact, to an extent of decision paralysis, right? I think, and if you think about it, life is a series of decisions that you make on a daily basis, on a monthly basis, or on a yearly basis. That is profound, man.
Some decisions are consciously made. Some are made in a subconscious way, right?
Yeah.
And I think one decision that you made recently in life that has a direct relation to the principle we're talking about is the UPSC decision, the decision to write UPSC, right?
Yeah.
And that is something that exactly falls into that category of short term it's tough to do that, but long term it adds value to your life, right?
Yeah.
I mean, studying the breadth of the topics that you've learned in a short period of time, going through the rigor, doing things over and over again, puts you out of the comfort zone, sure, but it's going to add value.
No, so I think when I was going through that experience, I never understood it, and I think I didn't think about it as beautifully as you described it. But you're very right, Gautam. I think so. I think Naval also talks about picking up a lot of different kinds of learning, right, from game theory, persuasion, your ability to understand psychology, sales, marketing, and so on and so forth. I think my UPSC journey gave me an exposure to economy, polity, geography, and so many varied topics, which was a 2-year marathon for me in terms of the kind of learnings I've had. And I think even today, although I have quit the race, but those learnings are still a part of everything that I do.
Yeah, yeah. I think this is a good point to end the conversation. And I would want to end the conversation with the most important aspects of our lives, happiness. And he makes a few good points about happiness. One being that in any situation in your life, you always have three choices. You can change it, you can accept it, and you can leave it, right? And if you want to change it, then it is a desire. And if to avoid distraction, pick one desire one desire at a time and work on it. I think that's very profound in many ways. We have in every situation we have these three choices, and we have to make these one of these choices and be content with that, right? Any final words on this? Any final words on the book? Anything that you want to share with the audience?
I think I wouldn't summarize it any better, Gautam. I think all of us are chasing happiness today, and you very aptly put it. I think trying to find happiness through 5 different sources hasn't worked out for me. So
Okay.
probably Naval is right about it.
Yeah. With that thought, thank you for everybody for tuning in. We'll be back with new insights, new content, and new people. Thank you.
Thank you, Gautam.
Bye.